You're watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.
Welcome to the Toronto Sports Rush channel, brought to you by the Bet Rivers Network. My name is Kyle Andrew, and joining me today, of course, because it's Monday, here on McGuire Monday, Mr. Pierre McGuire himself. Pierre, the Toronto Maple Leafs lost in a shootout to the Montreal Canadiens this weekend, but I want to start with the good. And the good is that this team is now finding ways to get points where they were nearly lost.
In their last 4 games, they've won 7 of 8. So it's to your point, and they could have won 8 out of 8. I thought Jakob Dobish played a huge role in the Montreal Canadiens win on Saturday night. Obviously, Cole Caulfield played a huge role in that win as well. But I'm starting to see more positive. I'll use an example. I remember when Toronto got Troy Stecher on waivers, Kyle. And I was like, okay, he fits on their team. The fans won't recognize him, and they won't understand why he fits. But he can skate, he makes a good first pass, and he's very robust for a smaller guy. The other thing I should have said, and I didn't say, he's going to help Jake McCabe play on the left side of the ice rather than the right side of the ice. So he and McCabe are partners now. McCabe is way better on the left side than he is on the right side. It's made a massive difference. So I'm starting to see really good things come out of Toronto. And then you look at the way Roy's played, you look at the way McMahon's played, you look at the way Dakota Joshua's played. More positives and negatives. And I know people love to nitpick, but this team's heading in the right direction.
Yeah, I think that's the takeaway from the game on Saturday night, Pierre. Once again, there were some things we can nitpick, and we will, because that's why we're here. But sticking with the positives, play down the center of the ice. They won nearly 60% of the faceoffs again. That will prove huge throughout this season.
It's such a good point. When you do an end of the game debrief like I like to do, I think I'm wearing my coaching hat still. I look at little things, hits, blocked shots, face-off play, turnovers, little things. I know they have all these fancy names for all the stats now, high danger chance, this and that. I get it. But the old stats still work too. They do. And one of the things that I think is really critical, especially with this team, face-off play, because they're going to be more of a puck possession team than a lot of teams because they don't come clean out of their own zone a lot. So you need to have the puck. And one of the ways of doing that, between 50 and 80 times in a game, there's a face-off. It varies from game to game, but 50 is probably the low number, 80 is probably the high number. It's somewhere in the middle. If you're winning 60 to 62% of the face-offs game in and game out, you're in a better position than the other guys. So I love your point, and this speaks to what Matthews is doing, what Tavares is doing, what Roy is doing, and now with Laughton being back in the lineup, it speaks a lot to what he's doing as well.
And you just brought up Matthews there. I wanted to point out there was a particular play in this game where he was very strong on the puck, breaking in and controlling the puck. But over the last couple of games, I have observed he is playing stronger on the puck once again like he used to. And that's benefiting this team tremendously because he will attract more attention and free open guys.
You go back and look at this whole past week. Look at the game in Florida and how well Auston played. Look at the game in Carolina and look at how well Auston played. And look at the game Saturday night. Yes, they lost in the shootout, I understand. But look at how well Auston played. It's to your point, Kyle. You're spot on. You couldn't be more correct. It's about how Auston Matthews is starting to take charge of the flow of the game. For whatever reason, he was deviating to other people. He was just saying, you take the puck. No, you take the puck. No. Now he's taking the puck, and it's making a huge difference.
And we spoke about this last week. It seems as though Matthew Knies' play is now opening up, and he's becoming more of the guy they thought they were signing. There's still some hiccups here and there, but with Matthews playing the way he has been, it does seem like Knies may be turning a corner on his season.
I also think there was a guy named McMahon that was pushing from behind saying, you know what, if he doesn't get going, I'm going to take his job. And so, you know, urgency is a very important thing in professional sports. And I think there's more urgency from a lot of guys. Plus, they look at the standings. You think players really want to lose? You think players don't want to play in the playoffs? You think players are happy in Toronto that they haven't been past the second round in forever? These guys want to end that. They want to be part of something special. They don't want to be part of the problem. They want to be part of the solution. Yeah. And I'm really glad that you brought up Matthew Knies because he's a guy that if they're going to win, he's going to have to be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Yeah, and I didn't even mean to imply that he had been playing poorly, but I feel like they figure he is going to fill a lot of the Mitch Marner gap, and he's been good. He's got 28 points on the season, but I think he's a little down on goals from where they thought he would be. He's only put 7 in the net, and I think with Matthews' game opening back up, he's not injured anymore. Knies will be freer to expand to his full potential. That's all I'm saying.
Agree. I couldn't agree more. Now let's get to the one little downside with this group. This power play has to engage. It has to get better. And I've been saying this for a long time. I wasn't a fan of the 5 forwards, but you could get by with Marner. You could get by with Marner. You don't have Mitch Marner anymore. And as good as Nylander is, he's not Mitchell Marner. He's not when it comes to running a power play. They need a dynamic force in the back end to run the power play. If you look at the top power plays in the league, they all have somebody that quarterbacks it. Back in the day in Washington, it wasn't Johnny Carlson playing on the point. It was Nick Backstrom. Back in the day when you saw elite power plays in Colorado, it wasn't Raymond Bourque running the power play or Robbie Blake. It was Peter Forsberg. So forwards can do it, but it would really behoove Toronto to get somebody that could help run this power play.
Okay, so a negative I isolated on Saturday night, which is plainly obvious to anyone watching the game, but this has been a repeated pattern when they failed to win games this season. They once again took an entire period off. The second period, they were brutally outshot. They only had 3 shots on net. And if it wasn't for pretty solid play from Hildeby the whole night, they would have been far out. They would have been far out of salvaging a point in that game. This must drive Craig Berube nuts, because every time they lose a hockey game, they take at least a 20-minute stretch of the game off.
Yeah, no, that's, again, really valid. It's not being unfair. What's really scary about that, you talk about Saturday night, I'm watching that game from the confines of my office, and I'm going, Montreal's the worst second-period team in the league. They are. They're the worst second-period team in the league. St. Louis exposed that last night, by the way. St. Louis took over that game last night in the second period because Montreal was so bad in the second period. It's a problem. And unless you're in the room, you really don't understand why they take these times off over the course of whether it's the first period, whether it's the second period, whether it's the third period, whether it's for 7 minutes or 10 minutes. There's something that goes on in the room. I'm really convinced of that. You just got to be in the room to know what it is.
Yeah, it's a really hard thing to pinpoint, but it's going to need to change because it wasn't common for them last year. They didn't lose back-to-back often, and they didn't take off entire stretches of a game like this. But let's stick between the pipes. I thought Hildeby's been pretty good lately. I think he's doing an admirable job of filling in a very difficult goaltending situation. And now that, of course, Wall has been placed on the IR, though, to be clear, they don't expect him to be out long, according to Craig Berube. Artur Akhtamov has been called up, and I've been looking forward to seeing him between the pipes in the NHL. Do you think we'll see him start a game anytime soon?
No, because they got a lot of days off between games. So, you look at this week, you've got Tampa in, then you got a game Thursday, so that's 2 days off. Then you got a game Saturday, that's another day and a half off, so to speak. So this week of work, I don't think they're going to venture outside of who the goalie is right now. I got to think Hildeby's going to get all the reps.
And how have you felt about Hildeby's performance?
I didn't disagree with you. That's why I didn't say anything about it. I think he's played really well. I think the biggest thing is I thought he'd be a little more nervous, a little jittery. He looks really calm. He looks really collected. He looks very composed. I haven't seen anything really wrong with him.
Yeah, it's a very difficult situation to step into, but I think he's been performing admirably, and I hope the fan base keeps that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Two starting goalies who were the Batman and Robin of the NHL and net last year are both out right now. That's a difficult situation for any team to overcome. So let's talk a little bit about tonight's game. And here's another moment where we simply have to put things in perspective for the fan base. The Toronto Maple Leafs are 14th in the conference. The Tampa Bay Lightning, who they play tonight, are 5th in the conference. And while you could say, they're one of the powerhouses, the Leafs are 4 points behind them. The Eastern Conference is that tight right now. And so the perspective of understanding, of course, these are two hugely important points, but the gap between these teams in the playoff picture, it's just not that wide right now.
No, it isn't. Here's the thing that would concern me if I were Tampa. You play in Toronto tonight, you play in Montreal tomorrow. And here's who you might not have in the lineup: Kucherov, Vasilevsky, Braden Point, Eric Chernak, Ryan McDonough. They've been doing it with smoke and mirrors and a lot of courage. I give John Cooper and Rob Zettler in particular, Rob Zettler coaches their defense, a lot of credit. They have sold a plan to these players. The players have bought in. Most people don't even know who their depth players are. Like if I said to you, Finley plays their fourth line center, you'd say, who? What? Where's he from? Gage Goncalves. Who? What? Where's he from? Curtis. So here's the one thing that people also need to know. about tonight's game. Tampa's probably not going to have most of their big high flyers. They just won't. So that's positive for Toronto. But where it's negative is Cirelli comes back. He's from Toronto. Nick Paul comes back. He's from Toronto. Pontus Holmberg comes back. He used to play for the Leafs. Curtis Douglas, I watched play for the Leafs farm team when I was working in Belleville. And Radish is there. Darren Radish is another Ontario guy. So they got 5 guys that all have tie-ins to Toronto. So anytime you got that many guys coming back, they play with a little more vim, vigor, and vitality.
Yeah, and of all the teams in the league, this has to be the market that brings that out of players the most. Maybe Montreal, maybe New York, but Toronto's the mecca as far as stirring up and riling up a fan base. It's not too difficult, so they have to be looking forward to these ones on the calendar.
Oh, yeah, well, sure. That's why I brought it up. But So the downside for Tampa is all the injuries to those big-name players. The good part is they got all these guys that want to show Toronto and their fan base, hey, we're pretty good. Like, we can bring the heat.
So speaking of young talent, let's talk about another Maple Leafs prospect. Ben Danford's been named to the World Juniors training camp roster. How do you? I like that move a lot. He's proven himself.
It's huge. I just finished doing Pittsburgh radio. I do that for their radio network, and they didn't lose. They're letting a player go, Harrison Brunick, who's a defenseman who's going to be on that same team with Danford. It's such an important developmental tool, Kyle. I can't stress it enough. I've been around the tournament since 1989, and it does make a difference when it's best on best between 18 and 20. The development potential for players that go to this is humongous. There's no development tool like it. The Memorial Cup's not like it. The league playoffs aren't like it. Even the NCAA tournament, it's not like it. The World Junior is it. It's really an important developmental tool. It's great for the Leafs. It's great for Danford.
Yeah, and he got that invite on the heels of having a very good training camp for the Leafs themselves, and he deserves it. And again, if you want to build leadership in these guys moving forward, this exposure to international play, even at the young ages, we've seen it time and time again how many of these World Junior participants end up in the Hall of Fame down the road.
Hey, I was just doing something with one of my old players, Jay Caulfield in Pittsburgh, and we're talking about the 05 World Junior. Ovechkin and Malkin both played for the Russians. Crosby, Shea Weber, Patrice Bergeron, Corey Perry, Ryan Getzlaff, Mike Richards, Jeff Carter. You start doing the math on all the players. Phil Kessel was playing for the Americans, Jack Johnson, Eric Johnson. I can go over all the World Junior rosters from going back to 1989. Think about in 89, the Russians had a line of Pavel Bure, Alexander Mogilny, and Sergei Fedorov. The Czech Republic, it was Czechoslovakia at the time, they had Jaromir Jagr, Robert Reichel, and Bobby Holik. Like, you can't make that stuff up. This is huge. Like, this is a massive developmental tool for all these players. And if you're fortunate enough to be one of the players that gets invited, it's pretty substantial.
So let's move back to the big club before we go around the league a little bit, Pierre. We have to talk about one of your guys, one of your favorites. The shorthanded goal scored by Scott Laughton is a slap shot shorthanded on a breakaway in the NHL. You know you're riding high and playing confident when that's your move.
It was, I'm watching that and going, what's he going to do? And then all of a sudden I see like tee it high and let it fly. And it
was a rocket.
And I'm like, whoa, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And even I got to give Dobish credit. He goes, you got to give that guy credit because you know what? That's a hard play to make. And he's coming. I wasn't expecting it. He said, I really wasn't expecting it. So I can't say enough good things about it. Now, there's a lot. I remember Ryan Ralston playing for Minnesota doing that in a game. And I think it was Jacques Lemaire that told Brian Ralston, you know what, when you get a chance, you come down with all kinds of speed like that, and you tee it high and rip it. And he did, and I think Ralston that used to be a shootout move. He just come down and blast it. I saw Laughton do that, and I was like, wow, that's really impressive. That was a big play in the game.
It was a massive play. It saved a point for them, which is going to come in handy down the road, of course. His play generally, though, for this team, he is now the player they hoped for, and he's playing with a confidence, and his style fits so well into the way Berube wants his team to play, and he's just really he knows where to be on the ice. He's finding the spots. And yeah, that might be a silly sentence about an NHL level player, but he was a little disoriented for a while there. He hadn't found his legs under him, but now he is fit into this team so well, it seems.
It's amazing. It's because it's allowed the slotting to happen. That's where
Yes.
we thought Nicky Roy would play in the 3-hole. We thought we knew Johnny would play in the 2-hole and Austin would play in the 1-hole. But now you can play a 4-line game, because Lorentz is a good player. Robertson can give you supplemental offense from depth. The Leafs now are starting to become the group that I expected them to be.
Yes.
They're still a little short on the right side on defense. You don't have, obviously, not having Carlo and not having Tanev hurts them a little bit on the right side. But I got to give the pro scouts and the general manager a lot of credit. Picking up Troy Stecher on waivers, that was a slick pickup. That was a really, really smart hockey move. And again, I go back to watching this kid play for the Penticton Vs, playing for a coach named Freddie Harbinson before he went to the University of North Dakota. This kid had it going on. Everybody was down on him because he's a little bit small, but man, oh man, he's a good hockey player. He's a very good hockey player.
I have to laugh to myself here. 28 games into the season right now. I would love to have our production crew take at the end of the season the different conversations and clips of the roller coaster this team is inevitably putting all media and everything on, because they are tough to get a read on right now. They're playing well now, but their goalies are both out, and they're just it's been a ride. But as you just alluded to, it does seem like they are beginning to take shape. And just like it wasn't time to panic, it's certainly not time to be overconfident.
No, I would not be overconfident at all. But the biggest thing I think now is starting to happen, they're able to play more players. And so when you can play more players, you can start to evolve more as a group, which is really important. And at some point, they're going to get some of these guys back. I got to think at some point Wall and Stolarz are going to be back. I got to think at some point Tanev's going to be back. I don't know. Carlo could be a little longer just because of the surgery, but I got to think at some point they're going to be able to get some of these guys back.
Yeah, this might actually prove to be a year where the Olympic break, despite some guys on the Leafs who will have more miles on the odometer, they might really need that break to have these guys not miss any further games and rest up just that much longer. Even if they do come back before then, to come back, get your legs back, and then they can just casually skate throughout the Olympic break and just kind of keep that energy. This could be valuable to a team like the Leafs.
Smart take. That's a really good take by you. I totally agree, Kyle. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. So Matthews is going to play. Knies has a legitimate chance to go. Nylander's obviously going to go. But if you look at the rest of the guys, I don't think, outside of Johnny Tavares, he's not a lead pipe cinch to make the roster.
No, he's a bubble.
Yeah, so I don't see a lot of guys. Like Morgan's not going to be on that team.
No.
So I don't think you're going to see a lot of guys maxed out from Toronto. I think it's actually going to be a positive thing. Your point's pretty solid, I think.
Let's move around the rest of the country a little bit, or even the league, Pierre. Ottawa Senators aren't looking too good, are they?
No, so there are a couple things going on there. One, they've had some injuries. Not enough people credit Tommy Shabbat for how good he is. Tommy Shabbat's a really good player. They haven't had Shane Pinto now for a game and a half, and you can see they already missed Shane Pinto. They got Brady Tkachuk back almost 12 days ago in St. Louis, and they've only won one game since then. That was a game in Montreal. And it's not on Brady. Brady's playing well, but they got guys. Stützle got hurt in practice yesterday. We talk about roller coaster rides. That's how their season's been. It's been kind of like this the whole season because they've shown flashes of being really good. But we talk about special teams. Their penalty killing is the worst in the league, Kyle. It's not even close. They're the worst in the league in the penalty kill.
Yeah.
The power plays kind of bailed them out a little bit, but their penalty kill is not nearly good enough. And I don't know how they're going to fix that, but they better, because if they don't fix it, they're going to have a big problem making the play. This next week for Ottawa is massive. They have 4 huge games, and they better win. Out of that 8 points, they better get 5 out of 8, because if they do not, I'm not sure they're going to be able to have enough gas in the tank to make it. And I know it's early in the year, but I'm just telling you, it's going to be hard.
Yeah, and as big as that 1 point was for the Leafs Saturday night, the 2 points was huge for Montreal.
Oh, again, they gave 1 away or 2 away last night, depending on how you want to look at it, to St. Louis. But they got some heavy lifting going on too, Montreal. They've got some injuries. And the biggest thing to me is on defense. Without Caden Gooley there, we talk about not having Tanev in Toronto and not having Carlo. Caden Gooley's a big, big, big loss for them because they're not slotted right on the back end at all in Montreal. It's a big problem for them.
Yeah, and those 2 teams we just spoke about, I'm looking here, Ottawa negative goal differential -5, Montreal negative goal differential -2. And Ottawa's is only that good because of the power play.
It is.
But then you look at the top of the conference, the Washington Capitals through 30 games have a massive plus 28 goal differential, and that really kind of tells the story, doesn't it?
They're so committed to what their coach, Spencer Carberry, is selling, number one. Number two, they're getting elite goaltending from Logan Thompson. He made 39 saves last night against Columbus. That was the first game back for Washington after a substantial road trip where they had a lot of success. Charlie Lindgren's hurt right now, so that's going to be interesting for them in terms of depth and goal. And also they got Ryan Leonard hurt out in Anaheim the other night with a big hit from Jacob Trouba, and he's out for a little while, and he was heating up big time. And they also haven't had Pierre-Luc Dubois, and they won't have him for a while. So they've had some guys really turn it up, and a lot of it's their depth players that play hard. Like Brandon Duhaime's a name that you don't hear very much, but he's been really good. John Carlson's been excellent on defense for them. Jacob Chikrin's been excellent on defense for him. So there's a lot of good stuff going on there, but Logan Thompson's been a huge story. I would not be surprised to see him push Jordan Binnington for the starting goalie position for Canada at the Olympics.
And though it's a completely different conference, we just can't not talk about the 21-2 and 6 Colorado Avalanche right now with their plus 49 goal differential. They are setting an absolutely insane pace out in the West.
Well, if anybody didn't watch the Ranger game, I'll just give you the Coles Notes version. If you don't think Nathan McKinnon's the best player in the NHL, go watch that tape, and you just tell me how good Nathan McKinnon. And you don't even have to watch any other games. Just watch that game, Rangers versus Colorado, on a Saturday afternoon. The guy was off the charts good. Colorado's really good. They're really deep. 4 lines, a lot like Toronto. Their defense is mobile. Obviously, everybody knows McGuire and Devontae's, but they got a lot of other guys too. Josh Manson has had a great year. Sam Malinsky might be one of the best college free agents signed. He came out of Cornell as an older kid. He's from Lakeville, Minnesota. He's had a tremendous run this year. He's been very good for them. Colorado's really good. They're the best team in the league right now. They are without a doubt the best team.
All right, Pierre, let's close. I'm going to tease out some more Canadian Olympic team content because I know we're going to be covering it extensively here on the Toronto Sports Rush channel. Macklin Celebrini and Connor Bedard continue to keep the pace in the scoring lead. And I understand that these guys are young, and I've harped on this so much, but I really do believe in a mix of the young and the old. What are the chances both of these guys, or even either of them, find their way to the roster?
I think Celebrini's got a little bit more of an edge than Connor does. Connor's last 2 games, not his fault. Chicago's been pulverized in LA and in Anaheim. He's kind of lost track a little bit with the offense and the defensive part of it. I watched Celebrini last night against Carolina. He had a goal and 2 assists. He was really good in the game, in every facet of the game. I think he's a little bit ahead of Connor only because of the defensive part. I'll be shocked if Canada doesn't take one of those 2 players. They may take both, but I'd be shocked if they didn't take one of the 2.
On a personal level, I would not only be shocked, I would be disappointed. I'd love to see them both, to be honest with you. I like that style of hockey, but I understand there are other masters to please and stuff with that. So, Pierre, thank you once again for joining us. You'll be back with us later this week. The Leafs will have had 2 more games, of course, Tampa tonight and San Jose on Thursday under their belt when you speak with me and Dan, I presume, on Friday this week. I'm not writing the schedule, but I'm sure we'll be back on there. Looking forward to it, Pierre. Thanks for everything.
Kyle, you're the best. Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.